The war ended without a final battle. There was no last explosion, no victory speech, no moment where humanity could say it had won. Instead, the fighting stopped because Earth agreed to something unthinkable. The enemy fleets pulled back, the bombardments ended, and the galaxy announced peace. Commander Elias Rourke stood on the viewing platform of the orbital station, looking down at Earth. Blue oceans, white clouds, fragile and beautiful. It was hard to believe this planet had survived it all. Human ships had been brave, clever, and stubborn, but bravery only goes so far when facing an alliance that had ruled space for thousands of years. The Coalition had more ships, better shields, and weapons humanity still barely understood. Earth cities still burned in places. Millions were gone. Supplies were low. Hope was thinner than ever. And yet, Earth still existed. That was why Elias was here. "You understand what this means," Admiral Chen said behind him. Her voice was calm, but Elias could hear the weight in it. "This is not a request." Elias turned. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his uniform simple and worn. He looked more like a soldier than a diplomat, which was exactly why the Coalition had chosen him. "Yes, ma'am," he said. "The Coalition demanded a bond." The Admiral continued. "A symbol that humanity accepts peace under their terms. A marriage." Elias nodded. He had read the files. He had seen the words written in clean, cold text. Diplomatic union bond. Cross-species integration. Strategic stability agreement. All pretty names for a leash. "They wanted someone military," Admiral Chen said. "Someone disciplined. Someone they think they can control." Elias almost smiled. "Almost. They chose wrong," he said quietly. Hours later, Elias stood inside a Coalition transport vessel. The design was alien smooth walls that curved like living bone. Lights that shifted color without reason. The air felt heavier than Earth's, tinged with a faint metallic scent. Guards escorted him, tall and silent, their armor seamless and dark. Their faces were hidden behind angular helmets. Not once did they speak to him. He did not speak either. The ceremony took place aboard the Dominion flagship, a massive structure that dwarfed anything humanity had built. Thousands watched through holographic projection, alien leaders, diplomats, and military commanders from dozens of species. Elias stood alone at the center of the chamber. Then she entered. Princess Sharian of the Virex Dominion moved with controlled grace. She was taller than Elias, her posture straight, her presence commanding. Her skin shimmered faintly under the chamber lights, patterned with subtle markings that shifted as she moved. Her eyes were dark, intelligent, and carefully empty. No warmth, no curiosity, no kindness. She did not look at him as a person. She looked at him as a decision already made. The bond ritual was brief. Virex tradition valued efficiency. Words were spoken in a language Elias did not understand, but the translation fed directly into his earpiece. Promises of unity, stability, mutual obligation. Every word felt like a cage being carefully locked. When it was over, the chamber erupted in polite approval. Not celebration, satisfaction. Humanity had accepted its place. Sharian finally turned her gaze to Elias. For a fraction of a second, something flickered in her eyes. Not triumph, fear. It was gone almost instantly. They were escorted from the chamber without touching. Guards flanked them on all sides as they moved through the massive corridors of the flagship. The ship felt alive, humming softly, responding to invisible commands. Elias memorized everything. The spacing of the guards, the rhythm of the lights, the subtle delays in the automated doors. Years of combat had taught him one truth. Systems always failed somewhere. At last, they reached the private quarters assigned to them. The guards stopped outside. The doors sealed with a deep, final sound. Lights dimmed. The hum of surveillance systems faded. Silence fell, heavy and complete. For the first time since leaving Earth, Elias allowed himself to breathe fully. Sharian stood with her back to him. Her shoulders were rigid. For several long seconds, she did not move. Then her hands trembled, just slightly. Elias did not speak. He waited. Patience had kept him alive more times than weapons ever had. When she finally turned, her expression had changed. The cold mask was gone, replaced by something raw and strained. Her voice, when she spoke, was low and unsteady. "We are finally alone," she said. "Do what must be done." Elias frowned. "Princess," he said carefully, "I don't understand." Her eyes searched his face, as if measuring him against something she feared. Then she exhaled. A slow, controlled breath. "They believe you are harmless," she said. "A symbol, a piece on a board." "That makes two of us," Elias replied. A brief, almost painful smile crossed her face. "No. They believe I am loyal." She stepped closer, lowering her voice even though the room was sealed. "This bond was not meant to protect your world. It was meant to study it." Elias felt a chill, but his expression remained calm. "Study how?" "Your behavior, your instincts, your decisions under pressure," she said. "The Coalition fears humanity's unpredictability. You adapt faster than we do. You break patterns we depend on. So you married me to keep me close," Elias said. "To watch you," she replied. "And to report." He nodded slowly. "And you're telling me this because?" "Because I am tired of watching my people die slowly," she said. And now the fear in her voice turned into anger. "The Dominion has not truly changed in 1,000 cycles. We conquer. We control. And we rot from within. Anq." She looked around the room, at the flawless walls and silent systems. "Perfection is a prison." Elias studied her. This was not a trap. He had seen lies before. This was desperation. "What do you want from me?" he asked. She met his gaze fully now. "I want you to be human," she said. "Not what they think you are. Not obedient. Not predictable." The silence stretched again. Outside the room, an entire galaxy believed peace had been secured. Inside, two enemies stood on the edge of something far more dangerous than war. Elias straightened slightly. "If I do that," he said. "Yes," she said. "For both of us." He considered Earth, the oceans, the burned cities, the people who had survived because humanity refused to give up. "Then tell me everything," Elias said. "Start from the beginning." Sharian nodded. And as she began to speak, the future of the galaxy quietly shifted. The room stayed sealed as Sharian spoke, her voice steady now but heavy with things she had never been allowed to say aloud. Elias listened without interrupting. He stood near the wall, arms relaxed, eyes focused, as if this were a battlefield briefing instead of a confession that could end both their lives. "The Coalition fears stagnation more than defeat," Sharian said. "They believe change must be controlled. Humanity changes without permission." Elias nodded slowly. "That usually gets us in trouble." "Yes," she replied. "That is why you survived." She activated a small control panel on the wall. The surface shifted and revealed a dim projection of the Dominion flagship. Layers of systems appeared: communication lines, command nodes, automated defenses. It was beautiful in a cold, precise way. "Our systems are perfect," she said. "They react exactly as designed. They never hesitate. They never guess." "That sounds like a weakness," Elias said. Her eyes flicked to him, sharp. "It is. But only if someone knows how to exploit uncertainty." She explained how the Coalition ruled. Every decision passed through layers of logic, engines, and predictive models. Every possible outcome was calculated, categorized, and approved. Nothing was left to chance. "No room for intuition," Elias said. "No room for instinct," she confirmed. "No room for mistakes. Or miracles." Elias let out a quiet breath. He had fought enemies like this before, not aliens, but machines and systems that trusted math more than people. Those systems always failed in the same way. They could not understand why someone would choose the worse option on purpose. "Why tell me now?" he asked. "Because you are already inside. Sharian said. And because I cannot do this alone. She told him the truth about the marriage. The bond allowed her constant access to his presence, his routines, his responses. Everything he did would be observed, analyzed, and sent back to the coalition. But observation goes both ways, she said. You see us too. Elias glanced at the walls, the faint pulse of hidden systems. They really turned off the cameras? For now, she said. Private bonded chambers are sacred under Dominion law. Even the High Council does not violate that rule. Good, Elias said. Then let's not waste time. Over the next several days, Elias settled into his new role. Publicly, he was calm, polite, and cooperative. He followed protocols. He asked simple questions. He made small mistakes on purpose. The kind that made alien overseers quietly confident. Privately, he learned. He watched how guards moved, how often patrols repeated their routes. He noticed which systems responded instantly and which paused for confirmation. He memorized the subtle hum changes in the ship's power grid. Sharian guided him carefully. She never gave him full access at once. Instead, she taught him how the Dominion thought. Everything must have a reason, she said. Everything must be justified. So if something happens without a clear reason, Elias said, the system gets confused. Yes, she replied. It pauses. It waits for instruction. They tested it carefully. Elias would do something small and harmless, but unexpected: stop walking in a corridor for no reason, change direction twice, delay a response by a few seconds longer than required. The ship's monitoring systems flagged the behavior, then cleared it as non-threatening. But the pause was there, tiny, invisible to most. To Elias, it was everything. Meanwhile, reports flowed back to Earth. Officially, Elias described the Dominion as strong, stable, and cautious. Unofficially, he sent messages hidden in harmless data packets, patterns only human analysts would notice. They're rigid, one message said. Too rigid. On Earth, people listened. Sharian faced her own dangers. The High Council summoned her frequently, questioning her about Elias's behavior. They expected signs of weakness, fear, or submission. Instead, she gave them order. He follows instruction, she said. He respects structure. It was not a lie. Elias respected structure the way a climber respected a cliff, by knowing exactly where it could break. One cycle, as they stood together at a viewing port overlooking a star cluster. Sharian spoke softly. You could escape, she said. If you wished. There are moments when the ship's defenses lower. And leave you here? Elias asked. She did not answer. That's not how humans work, he said. Not the good ones, anyway. She studied him. Your people are strange. He smiled faintly. We get that a lot. The real test came sooner than expected. A coalition inspection team arrived without warning. Multiple species, advanced sensors, and authority to override local systems. They were there to verify the success of the bond. Elias felt the tension ripple through the ship. Sharian remained composed, but her hands tightened briefly at her sides. They will probe deeply, she said later. Once they were alone. If they see irregularities, then we give them something simple, Elias said. Something they understand. He adjusted his behavior completely. He became predictable. Boring. He followed schedules perfectly. He responded exactly as expected. The inspection team watched, recorded, and grew satisfied. One inspector commented, "The human adapts well to containment." Elias heard the translation and kept his face neutral. After the team left, Sharian allowed herself a long breath. That was dangerous, she said. Yes, Elias replied. Which means it worked. Their next step was riskier. Sharian granted Elias limited access to a non-critical logistics system supply routing for maintenance drones. It was far from command authority, but it touched many parts of the ship. Do nothing dramatic, she warned. I won't, Elias said. I'll do nothing. Oddly, he introduced small delays. Slight reroutes. Nothing that caused damage or alerts. Just enough to create tiny inefficiencies. The system responded by increasing oversight. More checks. more confirmations, which made it slower. Across the ship, energy use rose by a fraction. Maintenance cycles overlapped. The AI began compensating. It did not understand why efficiency was dropping. Sharian watched the data with wide eyes. "You're teaching it bad habits." "I'm teaching it to doubt," Elias said. The coalition noticed the inefficiencies within days. Analysts flagged them as acceptable variants. The Dominion was still flawless by their standards. By human standards, it was already cracking. One evening, as artificial night settled over the ship, Sharian spoke again, quieter than before. "If this fails," she said, "they will erase you. And they will erase me." Elias leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "If it fails, Earth is gone anyway." She looked at him. "You do not fear death." "I fear wasted time," he said, "and wasted people." She considered that. Then she straightened. "Then I will give you more access," she said. Over the next cycles, the pattern spread. Elias never attacked systems directly. He nudged them, questioned them, introduced ambiguity where none had existed, and slowly, quietly, the perfect machine began to hesitate. Across the galaxy, other humans did the same. Engineers, traders, diplomats. They followed rules while bending expectations. They asked questions no one had asked before. They made decisions that did not fit models. The coalition felt it as discomfort, as uncertainty. They did not yet understand the cause. Inside the bonded chamber, Elias and Shireen stood together, watching data streams shift and flicker. "This is only the beginning," Shireen said. Elias nodded. "Good, because humans are very good at beginnings." Somewhere deep in the Dominion flagship, an alert flickered on and vanished before any overseer could notice. The system had paused, just for a moment, and for the first time in centuries, it did not know what to do next. The pause did not last long, but it mattered. Inside the Dominion flagship, systems corrected themselves and continued as designed. To the coalition, everything still looked stable. Fleets moved on schedule. Communications flowed. No alarm sounded, but Elias noticed the difference. He felt it in the timing of doors that opened a second too late, in the way information displays refreshed twice instead of once, in how maintenance drones hesitated before choosing a path. Tiny things, human-sized problems. Sharian watched the data streams closely. "The oversight layers are increasing," she said. "The system is compensating for uncertainty." "That's good," Elias replied. "Means it's worried." "Worried systems tighten control," she said. "That can be dangerous." "Only if you don't know where the cracks are," Elias said. They worked carefully now. Every move had to look logical on the surface, while quietly breaking deeper assumptions. Elias never repeated the same pattern twice. He acted bored one day, curious the next. Sometimes he followed protocol perfectly. Other times he followed it too literally, forcing systems to handle edge cases they were never meant to see. Sharieen began to understand something that unsettled her. Humans did not just adapt to systems, they played with them. Meanwhile, the coalition's attention shifted. Reports of minor coordination issues came in from several regions of space. Nothing serious. Just small delays. Minor miscommunications between allied fleets. Analysts blamed translation lag. Then cosmic interference. Then human inefficiency spreading through shared systems. They did not yet connect the dots. On the flagship, Elias was summoned for a routine evaluation. 2 Dominion overseers waited in a white chamber filled with scanning light. Sharian was not allowed to accompany him. "State your current emotional condition," one overseer said. "Stable," Elias replied. "Do you experience dissatisfaction with your bonded role?" "No." "Do you feel resentment toward the coalition?" Elias paused for exactly the amount of time expected for a thoughtful response. "No," he said. The scanners showed no deception. He was telling the truth, in his own way. He did not resent the coalition. He simply planned to outgrow it. When Elias returned, Sharian's posture relaxed slightly. "They suspected something," she said. "They always do," he replied. "Suspicion is easy. Proof is hard." She hesitated. then made a decision she had avoided for cycles. She granted him access to a deeper layer of the ship's coordination network. Not command. Not weapons. The space between them. The balance layer, she said. It keeps fleets aligned. It assumes all participants will behave as predicted. Elias studied the code and architecture. It was elegant, clean, fragile. This system doesn't understand choice, he said. No, Sharian replied. Only outcome. Then let's give it choices it can't rank, Elias said. He began introducing contradictions. Orders that were all technically correct but incompatible. Requests that met every requirement but conflicted in timing or priority. The system froze only for microseconds, but the pauses stacked. Elsewhere, human crews noticed something strange. Coalition directives arrived slightly out of sync. Permissions overlapped, authority blurred. Humans adjusted, aliens waited. That difference grew. The Coalition High Council convened an emergency session. Sharian was summoned, her presence demanded in the central chamber. Elias was ordered to remain behind. As she stood before the council, dozens of ancient figures studied her. Their voices filled the chamber, layered and cold. Instability is increasing, one said. Human influence correlates strongly. 1. Humans are now integrated into many systems, Sharian replied calmly. Correlation does not mean cause. You defend them, another said. I observe accurately, she answered. As commanded. They watched her closely, searched for hesitation. They found none. Back in the private chamber, Elias waited. He did not pace. He reviewed data streams calmly, adjusting parameters with careful restraint. Then the alert came. Not an alarm, a question. The balance system requested clarification on conflicting fleet priorities. It could not resolve them alone. Elias smiled faintly. He did not answer. The system escalated the request. Still no answer. Across coalition space, fleets slowed. Some stopped entirely, waiting for higher authority. Others proceeded on outdated instructions. Communication channels filled with requests for confirmation. For the first time in centuries, the coalition experienced delay. On Earth, human analysts noticed immediately. They had been waiting for this moment. Phase shift detected, one said. Proceed with adaptive response, another ordered. Human crews acted independently. They coordinated through flexible networks, sharing intent instead of orders. They filled gaps without waiting for permission. To the coalition, it looked like chaos. To humans, it was normal. Sharian returned hours later, her expression tight. They are frightened, she said. They do not understand what is happening. That's new for them, Elias said. They are tracing it back to you, she added quietly. Good, he replied. Means they're looking in the wrong place. They may move to isolate humanity entirely, she warned. Sever connections. Lock systems. That would hurt them more than us, Elias said. They rely on integration now. She looked at him. You planned this far ahead, he shrugged. Humans plan for failure. We assume something will go wrong. The coalition acted sooner than expected. A directive went out to restrict human access across shared networks. Permissions were revoked. Interfaces closed, but the damage was already done. Systems built with human input now depended on human flexibility. Removing it created gaps the coalition could not fill quickly. On the flagship, guards appeared outside the bonded chamber. Their posture was alert, weapons visible. They are preparing to detain you, Sharian said. Then it's time, Elias replied. Time for what? For you to choose, he said. She stared at him. I already have. She stepped into the corridor before the guards could react. Her voice carried, clear and commanding. By authority of the Dominion Crown, she said. Stand down. The guards froze, conflicted. Her authority was real. Their orders were also real. They hesitated. The system hesitated with them. Elias stepped beside her. Together, they walked forward. Behind them, alerts flared too late. Across the galaxy, the coalition finally understood that this was not sabotage. It was evolution. Humanity had not attacked their systems. It had taught them doubt, and doubt spread faster than fear. In the council chamber, debates turned to arguments. Arguments turned to fractures. Species questioned old hierarchies. Commands were challenged. Assumptions broke. Sharian accessed the central broadcast channel. "This instability is not destruction," she said to the assembled powers. "It is exposure. Your systems are perfect for a galaxy that no longer exists." Silence followed. Elias stood beside her, just another human in a galaxy that had underestimated them. "Humans are not your enemies," she continued. "They are your warning." The coalition did not respond immediately. They could not agree on how. As security forces closed in, Elias felt no fear, only focus. "This is the part where it gets dangerous," he said quietly. Shari nodded. "And where it finally becomes honest." The doors ahead began to open, not because they were commanded to, but because the system could not decide whether to stop them. And for the coalition, that uncertainty was the most dangerous thing of all. The doors opened fully, slow and uncertain, as if the ship itself was unsure what choice to make. Elias and Sharian stepped through together. Behind them, guards shouted conflicting orders. Some raised their weapons. Others hesitated, waiting for confirmation that never came. That hesitation spread. Across the Dominion flagship, systems tried to resolve priorities that no longer fit clean logic. Authority chains overlapped. Commands contradicted each other. The perfect machine strained under the weight of too many correct answers. Elias kept walking. His posture was calm. His steps steady. Fear would only make him predictable. And predictability was no longer safe for the coalition. Sharian spoke as they moved. Her voice steady but urgent. "The High Council is divided. Some want immediate containment. Others want negotiation." "That's better than unity," Elias said. "Unity was killing you." They reached a central transit ring. It should have been locked. Instead, it flickered, half-active, as if waiting for permission from a higher authority that no longer existed in a single place. Elias stepped onto the platform. It activated. Sharian looked at him with something close to disbelief. "It listened to you." "No," Elias said. "It listened to uncertainty." The transit ring carried them to the core communications hub of the flagship. This was not a command center in the human sense. There were no officers shouting orders. No clear leader. Only layers of systems managing systems, all designed to prevent individual control. Sharian accessed a public broadcast channel. Her hands shook slightly, but her voice did not. "This is Princess Sharian of the Virex Dominion," she said. "I am invoking the right of open declaration." Across the galaxy, leaders, commanders, and observers turned their attention. This channel had not been used for dissent in centuries. "You were told humans are dangerous because they change," Sharian continued. "That is true. But you were never told why that matters." Elias watched data streams spike as systems tried to categorize her speech. Was it rebellion? Treason? Negotiation? The algorithms could not agree. "Your empires are strong," she said. "But they are brittle. You mistake control for stability. You mistake silence for peace." Security forces breached the outer ring of the hub. Some advanced, others stopped, receiving contradictory orders. Sharian went on. "Humanity did not break our systems. It revealed what we refused to see. That our perfection left no room for survival." A High Council voice cut in, sharp and angry. "You speak beyond your authority." Sharian turned toward the projection. "I speak with it," she replied. "Or you would have stopped me already." The projection flickered. The council argued among themselves, their voices overlapping. Elias leaned closer to Sharian. "They can't shut you up without agreeing," he said. "And they can't agree." On Earth, people listened in silence. They saw alien leaders hesitate. They heard uncertainty where there had once been absolute confidence. Human fleets did not advance. They did not retreat. They waited, ready to respond to whatever came next. That restraint confused the coalition more than aggression ever could. Sharian reached the heart of her message. This bond was meant to study humanity, she said. Instead, humanity studied us. And what it found was not evil. It found fear. She paused, letting that word settle. You fear losing control, she said. But control is already gone. The only question is whether you adapt or collapse. A council member spoke again, quieter this time. What do you propose? Elias felt the shift immediately. That question had never been asked before. Sharian answered without hesitation. Partnership. Not hierarchy. Shared systems that allow local choice. Distributed authority. Room for error. Chaos, one voice snapped. Life, she replied. The security forces finally received a unified order. Detain both of them. They moved. Elias stepped forward, placing himself between Sharian and the approaching guards. He did not raise a weapon. He raised his hands slightly, palms open. Before you do this, he said calmly, his voice carried through the open channel, ask your systems one thing. The guards hesitated despite their orders. The system demanded justification. What happens next? Elias asked. Not what you want. What actually happens? The question fed into coalition predictive engines across the network. They ran simulations and failed. Too many variables, too many independent actors, too much human influence already embedded. For the first time, the coalition could not see the future. The guards stopped. Some lowered their weapons. Others looked at each other, uncertain. Sharian felt it then. Not victory. Release. This is not surrender, she said softly into the channel. This is survival. Minutes stretched. Entire fleets waited for orders that did not come. Trade routes paused. Borders softened. Finally, the High Council spoke with one voice, not confident, but resigned. A cease of enforcement actions is authorized. It said, pending system restructuring. A cease of enforcement, Ini said. A cease of enforcement actions. A cease of enforcement actions is authorized. Elias let out a slow breath. Around them, tension eased. Not vanished, but eased. In the cycles that followed, the galaxy changed in ways no one had predicted. Coalition systems were rewritten, not by replacing them, but by loosening them. Humans worked alongside aliens, not as subjects, but as collaborators. Decision-making spread outward. Local leaders gained autonomy, errors happened, and when they did, people adapted. Sharian stood before the Dominion once more, not as a perfect symbol, but as a flawed leader. She relinquished absolute authority and lived. The Dominion survived. Elias returned to Earth months later. Not in chains, not as a prize, but as a representative. The skies over Earth were still scarred. The rebuilding would take generations, but humanity was no longer alone in it. Before he left the flagship for the last time, Sharian met him in the same chamber where everything had begun. You changed the galaxy, she said. We didn't, Elias replied. We reminded it how to change itself. She nodded. The bond is no longer required. Elias smiled. Good. I was never good with cages. They stood in silence for a moment, not as symbols, not as tools, but as two people who had made a choice when it mattered. As Elias boarded the transport home, messages flowed across the stars. New alliances formed. Old empires softened. Humanity's reputation shifted from weak to dangerous to necessary. Because when the galaxy tried to control humanity, it failed. And when it finally listened, it survived. Far from Earth, a coalition system processed a final report. It flagged one conclusion as accurate beyond doubt. Humanity was not a threat because it fought. Humanity was a threat because it learned, and the galaxy would never be the same again.